Let's talk some Florida Gators recruiting. 2025 cycle, it's about wrapped up. That happens the first Wednesday in February, and UF currently sits with the 11th ranked class in the country. Still looking to add maybe a piece or two to the commit list before it's all over. But in today's video, I want to know who the instant impact recruits are. You know, the ones that we're going to be seeing on the field in 2025. I got Keith Napier here from Gators Online, and we're going to talk all about it. But first, exciting time for UF fans. You can feel this recruiting momentum. So we're talking Gators on this channel. Make sure you guys are subscribed. I appreciate it. All right, let's bring on Keith Napier, Gators Online. And Keith, before we get into some of these impact players, we know Coach Napier is on the road. He's able to make this is a contact period, so he's able to make some visits. Who are some of the notable names that he's dropped in on this week?
Yeah, well, first of all, he's gone and seen some of the commitments that Florida has already for 2026. One of them is four-star Under Armour All-American quarterback Will Griffin of Tampa Jesuit. Billy went by that school on Monday. The same day, he also saw four-star cornerback commit Jalen Waters of Seffner Armwood, which is just east of Tampa. Yesterday, on Tuesday, he was down in the Sarasota, Bradenton area where he stopped by Bradenton IMG Academy. And today he's going to go see some defensive linemen, or today being Wednesday, some defensive linemen down in Southwest Florida, including two players that are both among the top 15 defensive line recruits in the country for 2026, James Johnson and Kendall Gerville, who live in the Fort Myers area. Mm-hmm. And the stop at IMG, I should point out, was to see a multitude of prospects, but mainly a bunch of offensive linemen. So yesterday, Tuesday, offensive linemen, Wednesday, defensive linemen. Billy knows you got to build a team from the inside out, and that's where a lot of the focus is going to be in this cycle. And quite frankly, the state of Florida, Josh, is loaded in the 2026 class, and so is the state of Georgia. I don't think the Gators are really going to have to go too far out of that typical footprint in this cycle, and we're seeing that in early visits from Billy Napier. By the way, Thursday, he's going to be down in South Florida, and one stop we know of will be at Plantation American Heritage. My guess is he'll probably be at Hollywood Chaminade at some point as well. Where you've got some outstanding All-America type players down there too.
Yeah, we did a video last week on recruiting in the state of Florida. Gators definitely came out on top this year. So, you can feel that momentum kind of carrying into the 2026 cycle as well. But let's rewind to 2025. I want to talk impact players. So let's start on offense. We know guys were jumping in the boat late to play with DJ Lagway. So who do you see getting early playing time from this offensive commit class?
Yeah, I mean, if we're not talking about transfers, if we're just going off the high school kids, I mean, you got to start with the receiver position. Five-star receiver Dallas Wilson plays that X receiver spot, tall guy, 6'2.5", outside and deep threat. So you have to think Dallas Wilson, but also at receiver, the Gators lost some guys. They lost Elijah Badger, who had such an outstanding season last year. They lost Shim DK, who had an outstanding season. Those guys are now heading off to professional football. So you got to replace those guys. So that gives an opportunity for some other freshmen, not just Dallas Wilson. And I'm talking about Vernell Brown III, who we all love, fantastic player, polished route runner, can probably line up at multiple spots, but he's in that 5'10.5", 5'11" range, so probably slot receiver. And then also Nashawn Montgomery, who had a solid week at the Under Armour All-America game last week as well. He's a little bit taller, not as tall as Dallas Wilson, but taller than Vernell Brown, so 6'1". So in this class, you've got guys that really can play all three of the receiver positions. So I think Nashawn Montgomery, I think Vernell Brown, and I think Dallas Wilson are all guys that can play and contribute early. They all are expected to be there for spring practice. And I need to point out, Vernell and Nashawn are also guys that can do some things on special teams as well and want to get on the field. So they're hungry. So I suspect a guy like Vernell Brown could be essentially be like what Chris Rainey was years ago when he was a young guy for the Florida Gators, making an impact on special teams in addition to just the passing game. Now, the running backs, even though Florida is very solid with what they return at running back, I do think Byron Lewis and Waltez Clark, two four-star players, have a chance to contribute early, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them. Offensive line-wise, I think it's going to be difficult for some of those guys to get in because Florida returns just about everyone. Tight ends, Florida returns just about everybody. So really on offense, Josh, keep an eye on the receivers. And I'm leaving out one guy, Muiz Tancora, underrated kid, 3-star from Texas, but 6'3". Again, a tall guy. Florida loves those tall receivers. They just haven't had a ton of them. So potentially he could be a guy that gets some playing time as well.
Yeah, some really dynamic pass catchers coming on campus here real soon, and I could see some of them making an impact. But Keith, what about on the defensive side of the ball? Who makes an early impact there?
Well, this is what's interesting. One of the guys that may have the biggest impact on defense is one of the lowest rated guys in the class. It's Stephon Shivers from up in your area, Brentwood, right? Brentwood Academy, I think
Yep.
he went to. He decommitted from Georgia and then flirted with Vanderbilt before committing to Florida. So why would he, a defensive lineman that's among the lowest rated guys, be among the most highly likely guys to play in year one? Well, when you look at the nose guard position, Florida's losing two key players. One of them is Cam Jackson, a surefire NFL guy on the north end of 360 pounds. He was your starter, but your number two guy, remember him, the Heisman contender, Desmond Watson? Well, he is also gone now. So you've got a big hole, literally and in every way, a big hole to fill at nose guard. So you've got Mekhi Barrow, who played as a freshman last year, got some valuable reps, Josh. He'll probably be the guy that steps in this year into a starting role, unless, we don't know what they're going to do in the transfer portal. Florida tried to recruit Keyshawn Silver before he picked another school, I think USC. So there could be potentially, maybe they're still going to try to work some things there. We don't know. But Mekhi Barrow comes back at the nose guard position. He's like around 400 pounds. But Shivers, in that 380-pound, did I say Shivers or Shivers? I can never remember how to pronounce his name. Stephon Shivers, we'll call him. Again, 6'4.5", 380 pounds. So he's going to have a chance to play early. I believe he's an early enrollee. It's a very important position to the Florida defense. So keep an eye on him. Elsewhere, I think at linebacker, Ty Jackson has a chance to be in the rotation, Under Armour All-American. Florida's returning some really good linebackers. Make no mistake, Pup Howard, Miles Graham, Aaron Childs, Jaden Robinson. But you got to have depth at that position. And they did just lose Shamar James, who declared early for the NFL draft. So keep an eye on him. But in the secondary, Josh, again, important position. Florida went through so many guys last year because of injuries. They need depth and they need quality, and they've got it with Lagonza Hayward, a four-star safety / star from Georgia, Toombs County, I believe, and then also Hilton Stubbs from Jacksonville Mandarin, another four-star kid as a regular safety. I don't know whether he's going to be a boundary or strong, but a safety, big physical kid. He's got an NFL body right now, Hilton Stubbs. Okay, Lagonza Hayward may be a little bit more athletic. But those two guys are phenomenal young players who are going to be there in the spring, should be able to really get acclimated to the speed of the game, to the system, to the playbook, to the culture of Florida. And Florida's probably going to need both those guys, regardless of whether they bring in any more safeties via the transfer portal or not. So those are some of the guys that I'd be keeping an eye on. Yeah, I'm sure I'm missing some.
Yeah, we've seen Billy Napier play some freshmen on defense in his tenure at UF already. So I'm certain that we're gonna see some freshmen all over the field. So Gator fans, talk to Keith and I. Who do you think from this 2025 class is gonna make the biggest impact on the field this fall? Let us know. Comment section below.